So Her Zimbabwe is a women's crowdsourcing platform trying to bring more women's voices online as a means to just start to articulate more women-specific and women-centered issues into the mainstream. So it's an idea I had when I was doing my master's thesis, and I was providing recommendations about how more women, Zimbabwean women in Zimbabwe and Zimbabwean women in the diaspora could collaborate and have conversation. And one of the recommendations was to create online channels. And I realized that my dissertation, as do many other dissertations, potentially suffered the fate of sitting in a library only to be looked at by, following students who wanted to have a reference point. And so I realized I had to action my own recommendations. The response has been really great. It started in 2012, but it started as an experimental thing. It wasn't a full-time thing. But even in that first period, we were included into the Guardian Africa network as one of the platforms that they would get content from them for their crowdsourcing platform. Also, the University of Queensland in Australia gave us a special recommendation in their Communication for Social Change Awards. So it's done really well. It's gained a lot of coverage, but now it's a fully constituted secretariat. It's a full-time thing, and so we expect to be growing bigger and doing offline work as well, training women in Zimbabwe in how to use social media, as well as having dialogues, which we will be calling our critical conversations, to stimulate discussions. I think, there's a lot of nuance that is being omitted by reportage about Africa from a Western perspective. And it's really time for Africa to tell its own stories. I know that's a bit of a cliche, but I think that there's a lot that people just don't know from not coming from the continent and having the nuances and subtleties of the culture. So it's a hard struggle, but I think we're faced right now with no other option but to start to really flood the online space with our voices, with our stories, and where necessary, to counter inaccuracies that have gone on for a long time and been now understood to be universal truth about Africa, which they are not. So I think it's really time for us to start doing something.